you would be forgiven for thinking this. The Resident Evil series is not exactly known for being soothing or soporific. And yet, today, we're going to take a relaxing wander through a portion of the titular village from this Resident Evil game, and I assure you it's going to be plenty relaxing and soothing and tingling. I promise there will be no jump scares of any kind, nothing jarring or upsetting. The only concession that I have to make, unfortunately, is that conspicuous knife in our character's right hand. That, unfortunately, I cannot sheath, and so it's going to be present for the duration of this wander. But if it bothers you, just imagine it's, I don't know, a banana or something. Maybe that'll help. Really, what we're going to be enjoying today is an atmospheric, whispered wander through this beautifully rendered mountain village. It is an absolutely gorgeous environment, and this game has got some of the most stunning visuals, from the technical graphics to the art direction and everything in between, that I have ever laid eyes on. And I wasn't about to let the genre of the game or the content of the gameplay get in the way of doing a good ASMR wander here. Now, I must confess that this is my first ever Resident Evil game, and this is right near the beginning of the game, so I don't know a lot about what's going on. I'm just appreciating the environments for what they are. So, my apologies if I misinterpret certain things or get some names wrong or whatever, but mostly this is about exploring this gorgeous video game environment. So, shall we begin? We find ourselves in this abandoned village, which appears to be high up in the mountains of somewhere in Eastern Europe. I believe it's supposed to be in perhaps Romania, maybe the Carpathian Mountains. That would make sense given the presence of vampires in this story. Looming over the village is the imposing, mist-shrouded Castle Dimitrescu, which is evidently the way you pronounce that name. It's spelled Dimitrescu, but according to the developers and Capcom, the CU on the end is weirdly silent. Although I don't think that's how it would actually be pronounced in Romanian, but nonetheless, it is evidently Castle Dimitrescu, which is the domain, as I understand it, of the large vampire lady that everyone seems to be losing their minds over. We are not going to see her today, for better or for worse, but we are going to explore this mysteriously abandoned village. Right off the bat, this is just such a beautiful entryway to this darkened house. You can see that this village not only has been abandoned, but also destroyed. A lot of these buildings have suffered damage, and there's nobody here. But we can glean some information about their past lives, perhaps, or their lives before they disappeared. I don't know, maybe they're still alive. I'm not sure. This house has all these dried flowers. All these dried flowers either side of the door. And there were some out front as well. There's also a whole lot of religious iconography on the walls. Some of it seems fairly benign, others may be a little creepier. This one here appears to have been corrupted with some kind of sigil, which I've seen around a little bit. You'll see what I mean as we get a little further along, but it's a bit unsettling, I suppose, some of the imagery. And I can't promise that we're not going to see anything a little bit spooky in this wander. But again, there will be no jump scares. No jump scares. Oops. But there might be some slightly spooky scenes. Let's head on to this house. This is, I suppose, one such slightly spooky scene. Now, this sigil here is, I believe, the same one we saw on the wall outside. It looks like some kind of summoning circle, which leads me to believe maybe there were cultists living in this village. This game uses all kinds of advanced graphical effects, including ray-traced lighting for shadows, global illumination, and reflections. And of course, I've got all of that turned up as far as it goes. This game is looking its best. Right now, running at 4K 60, barely breaking a sweat on an RTX 3080, so it is a very well-optimized engine. That's at native 4K as well. There's no DLSS magic or anything going on, which I must say is quite impressive. More dried flowers. These candles have been extinguished. And this pillow shows signs of being ripped by something. Whoever lived here had an ample supply of wood stacked up, which they'd want to have in a place like this. It does look pretty cold outside, and I bet it gets bitterly chilly in the dead of winter. I love the detail in just the housewares, the plates and bowls and things. These places look lived in, although very, very worn. The people who lived here were clearly not wealthy. We've got some garlic hanging up here, which would seem to run contrary to the theme of vampires that I understand is central in this game. In fact, look, there's a lot of garlic. Perhaps the villagers were trying to avoid or drive off the vampires. That I don't know. Another spooky painting. And some kind of elk skull, perhaps. There's lots of environmental storytelling going on. And I'm all about that. Let's head back out into the gently drifting snow. You can hear it crunching underfoot. This right here is a testament to how quickly this village was abandoned. Somebody dropped their sewing basket or knitting basket, I suppose, full of brightly colored yarns. And here in the town square, we've got this statue. I don't know anything about this statue. I think on the map it's labeled the Lady of War or something like that. I could be wrong, but it's a striking striking monument. She's wielding a blade of some kind, and she does appear to be facing the castle, doesn't she? So maybe that's an indication that the people here are afraid of those who dwell in Castle Dimitrescu. And this lady, this statue is supposed to represent protection. She's got a shield with a goat's head on it, and its eye appears to be glinting. I suspect that's some kind of collectible, but I don't know if I can collect it just yet. More signs of the struggle that evidently occurred here. A cart has been overturned, or at least somewhat smashed up there. You can see the remnants of what was once brightly colored paint just slowly peeling away from this gate. And an old rusted out tractor. This game does take place in the modern day. It's a contemporary setting, but the people of this village seem to live a very simple life, very rural life. And then we have the headstones. I don't know what that says. Here lies, you can almost see, here lies something, something. It's like almost English script, but not quite. Interesting. But I love the bleakness of this setting, the darkness of the aesthetic, the just atmosphere that's dripping from every view. Everywhere you turn, it just feels so atmospheric. Remember I mentioned ray-traced reflections. You can see an example of that here, where this signpost, which is pointing towards a ceremony site to the left there, and Castle Dimitrescu off to the right here. You can see how it's reflected in this puddle here, even when it's off screen. So if this was using screen space reflections, we would not be able to see that reflected like that, but because it's ray traced, we can enjoy the reflections of the signpost and the tree. I believe this game uses a hybrid system, so there are also screen space reflections added to augment the ray tracing. This beautiful crumbling pathway to the ceremony site here is just so evocative. It's tumbled stones and dusted with snow. Ivy growing down the wrought iron fence. There's a rusted gate, behind which lies something. I don't know what. I haven't got that far yet. I just have to imagine. But the ceremony site sounds suitably ominous, doesn't it? And then if we look up, we see these mighty mountain tops, these snowy peaks, which provide an epic and beautiful backdrop for this little village nestled in the valley here. Were it not so destroyed and, abandoned looking, this, would perhaps be a very nice place to visit. The castle is still a bit foreboding, I suppose. And then we have this. This is curious. I don't know precisely what this is all about, but it's evidently some kind of shrine. A shrine that's important enough that it has 2 lit candles. The goat does seem to be a significant symbol for these people here, given that we have the goat's head on the shield of the protective maiden back here. And now we've got this little goat statuette. I believe the game actually provides a bit of lore. There's a little placard underneath that does provide some explanation, but I don't have the UI turned on right now, so I can't read it. I wish I had remembered to check it before we started our wander here. Oh well. We've got more tombstones. This gorgeous mausoleum. Look at these amazing lanterns. Such detail into the metal filigree. It's beautiful, really. More graves. I don't think any of these graves are linked to the disappearance of the villagers. These look like they've been here for a long time. These are probably, historical, where the people of this area would bury their ancestors. And obviously, clearly, we have a church just over here. We'll go take a look at that church in a moment, but first, a curious gate. A curious gate. Framed, flanked on either side by crackling torches. The design of this gate is remarkable. Again, just dusted by rime and snow, bringing out the details of the carving, really, which appears to depict this maiden that is represented by that statue behind us. She is wielding her sword and goat-faced shield to ward off a great demon, a beast with devil's horns and leathery wings. But their faces are missing. The seals that bear their faces are hidden somewhere in this village, and I need to find them and place them in their sockets. And as I understand it, or as the game would have me believe, that will unlock the path to the castle, which looms behind. So, that is my task, although we will not be doing that here and now necessarily. On either side of this gate, we have these depictions of, well, honestly, a lot of pain. It looks like a lot of people being tortured and skewered and things like that, which is not especially relaxing, definitely a little bit spooky. But I suppose you gotta expect that to some degree in a game like this. I'm getting real Vlad the Impaler vibes here, you guys. This is definite Dracula vibes. It's so striking, though. Just visually so gorgeous. And those crackling torches. It's kind of nice too, isn't it? One in this ear, one in that ear. So, let's carry on. I love the subtle lighting that's provided by all these candles that are left burning here. show it to you because I love the aesthetic here. We once again see that very spooky sigil that we saw on the ground back in that first house. And each sigil is ringed by wings, raven wings, arrayed in this pattern around it. And then we've got bones and rope underneath. Feels very shamanic somehow. I'm all about it. I just think so much of the visual design in this game is so cool from what I've seen so far. And really, I've barely scratched the surface. Another gorgeous wrought iron lantern. And the church. Oh look. There's another one of those little nodding goats up on the roof line. Interesting. Very interesting. Shall we push open the creaky old gate? Let's do it. So this church, once again, appears to have been brightly painted, like many of the other buildings here, but the church has kept its paint job a little better than some of the others. You can still make out what appear to be saints painted on the wooden logs, the rough-hewn timbers. And then here's something curious. This strange lighting fixture. It's some kind of lantern with a couple of horns encircling it, and then a little dangling bit with bones and beads and such, which seems a little bit at odds with the Christian iconography that we're seeing here in the very Christian steeple. But I suspect the people of this village are not quite your typical adherents. Shall we head inside? Take a look. Yes, let's. Beautiful door, by the way. This swirling pattern on the top. The inside looks positively cozy. Actually, we have little dust motes dancing around in the light streaming in through the curtained windows. This colorful lace framing each window, and also as part of these wall ornamentations with these painted bowls. But we do have some strange things as well. More of these unsettling paintings high up on the wall. And then back here at the front, the altar. This is definitely not normal. We have pictures of some very interesting individuals. On the far left, I don't know what that is depicting, but just above that, well, I believe this is our infamous large vampire lady, who I believe is Lady Dimitrescu, perhaps the owner of the castle up there. In the middle here, I don't know, some kind of masked woman with a saint's halo around her face, but that mask is somehow unsettling. Clearly she was or is important to the people of the village. I suspect that she's bad news. That would be my guess. Below her here, illuminated on the altar, is something very interesting. You remember that missing seals, the faces that we're missing. That is what we have in front of us here. This is one that we're going to have to take back to that gate to get into the castle, although I'm going to leave it in place for now. Then on the right, we have some shadowy figures. Honestly, it looks kind of like Corpse Bride, I have to say. And some kind of Van Helsing looking character on the far right. Perhaps they're all members of the same family. That would be my first guess, or coven of some kind, but difficult to say. I'm sure I will find out over the course of the game. But I love once again, the aesthetics, the design of this altar. The lighting just adds so much, doesn't it? More amazing lanterns. How many lanterns can one game have? Many, I guess. I love the intricate carvings running up into the rafters on these cross braces as well. Such attention to detail. And I notice once again there's something sparkling at me from just above the altar here, up with all these images, these paintings. It appears to be some kind of gem that's embedded in this picture, this painting, but I don't think it's accessible to us right now. An interesting rug that's hung up on the wall. We've got censers here, which would theoretically, I guess, be burning something, incense or something, maybe during ceremonies. And looking slightly out of place, a typewriter. A very lovely model of a typewriter, too, I must say. This typewriter is in Resident Evil fashion, the save point for the game. You can save only at these typewriters, as I understand it. I think that's a Resident Evil tradition going way back. Way back. Look at the intricate carvings on these chairs as well. Looking worn but sturdy. I love the way the light comes in, just streams in that window. The subtle way it lights those chairs, reflects off their arms there, and catches the details of those carvings. Softly lights the lace up here on this wall hanging, and gosh, it's remarkable. Amazing how far we've come. Getting very close to that point where it's becoming difficult to tell apart game screenshots and real photos. Oops. I think my character wanted to jump over the railing there, but we won't do that. These icicles, a little spooky. More tombstones, which of course makes sense. We are, after all, near a church. A graveyard is to be expected. A great steeple. And of course, again, a wonderful little piece of visual design, or not little piece, dominant piece, as the castle just looms over everything. Every sight line has that shrouded castle just lurking in the background. I suspect that's a visual metaphor. It's very effective. Lovely bouquets of dried flowers here. Just dusted with the finest few snowflakes. And another one of those strange lighting talisman things. Another gate to somewhere. Up at the top of these stairs. This one has these enigmatic symbols on it, which I've seen in several other places. This appears to be some kind of mausoleum, graveyard kind of place with more ornate and larger monuments in it. Perhaps where nobility is buried. I suspect we will get to visit there at some point, but not today. Not today. These gorgeous, rugged mountain peaks all around, just looming up out of the clouds. These craggy sides just reaching up to the sky. It makes for such a dramatic backdrop. And we have here a field of what appears to be, maybe a grain of some kind. It doesn't look like wheat. This looks kind of like wheat, but the rest of this, I don't know what it is. Now, we have these stooks, they're called, these piles. The wind whistling or hissing its way through the tall grass. It's a little disconcerting, but don't worry, like I said, I promise, no jump scares here, no zombies, already dealt with them all, so you can just appreciate the sounds that it makes. And yet among this we've got more strange, shamanic looking kinds of things here. I don't even know what these are. Like rib bones or something, but they're straight. Hanging off this cross here. There's quite a few of them, and then the scarecrow. A staple trope of any spooky fiction is the scarecrow. This one certainly fits the aesthetic here. Shall we go for a little wander through the tall grass? Or tall, whatever these are. These are the stooks I was talking about. This kind of structure with hay that has been sort of stacked up and hung off of these poles. I believe those are called stooks. Like this one right here. And we come at last to this great mansion, looking very worn but clearly ornately detailed. Look at the carvings on this little side gate here. It's quite ornate. And all of the beautiful woodwork along the roof line. It looks positively cozy. Again, if it wasn't for the general state of this village, this looks like it would be a lovely place to spend a few nights nestled up here in the mountains. And it even looks like they've got a fire going inside. I see smoke drifting up from the chimneys. But, alas, my friends, this is as far as we are going to go today. Because this is actually as far as I've made it in the game. So, I'm looking very forward to exploring further and seeing what lies within. I suspect it's another one of those seals for the gate to get us to the castle. time being, we're going to turn around and we're going to enjoy this utterly gorgeous, deeply evocative view. Again with that castle just hunched over there, glowering down from its high point on the mountainside, looking over this humble village that we've seen a little piece of here today. And amidst all this darkness, the sun is just barely peeking over the distant horizon there, casting a weak light across all of it. I love the way the fog creates layers into the distance. Up close here with our farmer's field, and then further away the church steeple and the village, and then the trees and mountains beyond. Just beautiful. In a bleak way, but bleak can be gorgeous. And that's exactly what this is. So, well, my friends, thank you so much for joining me for this relaxing wander in Resident Evil Village today. I do hope you enjoyed it. I do hope that you agree with me that it was relaxing, that despite appearances, this game can in fact be relaxing and tingly. And if you would like to see more of this game and more wanders like this, please let me know down in the comments. As you can tell, I'm just loving this game so far, and I would be more than happy to explore more of these environments slowly and quietly with you. Thank you again for coming along today, and I look very forward to having you back here next time.